Welcome to the We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson.
And I'm Daniel Arduña. Each month, we're excited to bring you an incredible interview with someone who has experience in facilitating an environment where people work better together.
And each week, we'll share some actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to help you function better together, whether it's in your marriage, family, team, workplace, church, or community.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Now let's jump into some content and get better together.
All right, everybody, we're back for another 10-minute tune-up. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to be talking today about finding differences in other people that help make you better together. You know, so many times what we do is we look for people who are like us, people who agree with us, people that do things the same way we do, kind of react the same way we do. And a lot of times we don't value the differences. Today, we want to hone in on really valuing the differences. And it does all start with self-awareness, right? You got to know your own strengths and your own weaknesses. There has to be some self-awareness in order for you to even appreciate someone else's differences. So I want to start off, Daniel, just asking you, what are some ways that you've come to understand your strengths and weaknesses personally?
Yeah, and Ian, I think you'll be able to add on to this, but I know that one of the places for me has been the Strength Finders test. So I've worked in a couple different organizations where that's kind of been one of the things that's been used. And so I know for myself, I know my top two for anyone that has taken it are belief and woo. So if you need an extra bit of belief within whatever it is a team is chasing after, or belief in people, belief in myself. That is a strength that I have. Woo stands for winning others over. So I have a deep level of charisma and just this sense of being able to draw people in. And so I think that when we think self-awareness, that's been one tool of multiple tools that you could utilize, but that have helped me to kind of have some of that self-realization. What are some of the strengths that I have that I could then also begin to look at others and see what they have? Ian, have you used any of those or anything that you would even speak into that of what I share?
Absolutely. We use the Strength Finder that you referenced earlier. You know, one of the things I love about the Strength Finder is all the strengths are broken down into 4 categories: execution, influence, and strategic. And man, we have found it so helpful in our organization to understand where everyone's strengths lie, to make sure that we're really complementing each other. It's made a huge difference. But another one that we really like is by the Table Group, which is Patrick Lencioni's organization. They came out with a new thing just this last year called Working Genius. And there's 6 working geniuses, and it helps you understand who has what, how in different phases of developing an idea, an event, or a program that you are, and whose strengths really make a difference in those different segments. It's been wonderful. So the Working Genius, and then DISC. We've used DISC a lot. Myers-Briggs is another really good one. I think those are all tools that when you use them, it does increase your self-awareness. But just like any of these kind of tools, when we use them, what do we tend to focus on? Ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Who am I? What's my strength? What am I good at? What's my working genius? Where am I at? And we don't always take the time to think about our teammates and their differences and how that really helps us and complements us, right? So that's the key. But it does start with self-awareness. Right, you have to have an interest in what yours is so that you know where you're lacking and what complements you. So I think my challenge today, I know our listeners probably have some experience with a number of these tools. I encourage you to go back to those tools, look at them again, even if you've already done them, and think about right now, what is an area where you need to be complimented? Remind yourself, and if you don't have enough awareness of what your teammates are or what they do, ask them. Have you ever taken any of these? And if not, do it with them so that you can discover their strengths, their weaknesses, and you can learn how to be better together with them. That would be my challenge for everyone this week. Like, revisit yours and look and see what your teammates are. Daniel, I do want to ask you in the midst of that, like, as you're bringing people together, right, to work on something together, what is critical to that process of bringing these differences together? Have you found certain types of conversations or things that help you bring these differences together?
Yeah, I think to what you said, Ian, when we have that base of that first understanding, not to over focus on ourselves, but have an understanding of who we are and the strengths that we have. And then we begin to look at others and say, what strengths do they have? What I've experienced, specifically, even in this realm of using strength finders for us, again, just as an example, is that then when you get into a room with a team and I've got this diagram of who has strengths where, and then we're working on whatever project or chasing after whatever it is that we're chasing after, you're able to identify who can lead out in different areas of what it is that you're doing. Hey, we've got Daniel who can woo and use charisma and gather people together. Hey, we've got someone over here who has ideation and they're going to be able to bring ideas together. Oh, but then we've got someone now who's strategic in our team and they're going to maybe, okay, we've bringing some people in. We've got some ideas. Someone strategic now is going to help us piece those things together. Then we've got someone maybe that has the strength of developer, is going to be able to take whatever it is and develop it and move it to the next phase. When you have that understanding now, I've certainly experienced when we have conversations around what it is we're chasing after in our mission or some project that we're working on, or even a daily task of something that we're trying to accomplish. When you've got those things set out before you, we've operated so much better when we're setting people up to play these roles in which they have a strength in. Instead of me trying to be the lead person for ideation, we've identified someone that can do it better than I can.
Yeah.
And that's been a huge, huge gift to be able to have when thinking about working with others, Ian.
Yeah, sometimes depending on the person's personality, they might have that strength of ideation, but maybe they're a quiet personality and they don't bring it out in the meeting unless you know it's their strength and you draw it out.
Yep.
But, I want to be sensitive to our listeners because some of them may not have taken these assessments.
Yes.
And you may not have some of the same lingo. That's okay. Like, the assessments are helpful. They're good tools. But I think we're all astute enough to know when people are a little different than us. And so what we want to do is help you understand that this whole idea of bringing that together, it's part of the adjust phase. In our podcast, we always talk about, to be better together, you have to focus, you have to have the same focus, you have to know how to adjust, and you have to persevere. This bringing people together that are different skills, different talents, different backgrounds, different things, knowing that they're different than you is not hard to notice. But what it is hard to do sometimes is appreciate it, to affirm it, to compliment them, to thank them for being different. So another challenge we have for you, our listeners, this week, to be better at recognizing those differences, bring together. Our assignment for you this week is find someone who's different than you in something that you realize has complimented you, and then verbally affirm them and thank them for that this week. I have our operations person. We always joke and laugh because her job is basically to poke holes in my ideas. And I try to always encourage her and thank her for that because it truly helps make us better together. If we just kept charging with all my thoughts and I didn't listen to all the operations and what it was going to take to get there, we would be tripping all over ourselves. So that's an example. Find someone that's different than you, that thinks different, acts different, looks different, whatever it is, and compliment them verbally. Get into the habit of appreciating the differences. And I guarantee you, if you start making that a habit, you'll get better together as a team.
So good. Ian, as you say that, I just even think about, even in my marriage, I will write up a letter or write up something and be really good at and verbose with whatever it is, and then take it to my wife and be like, can you read this? And then she'll plug everything out. Hey, you don't need this, you don't need that, or here's how we can bring this together to actually hit the point. And I think even in our podcast here, my relationship with Ian, I think Ian, whether you think so or not, I think Ian does some of that as well for the We Are Better Together podcast. Of we'll have these conversations, and Ian oftentimes can be really good at bringing all of that together to then kind of leave our listeners with a point, or to draw us back to maybe what the center of what it is that we're doing. And I think what's so valuable too with the application that Ian challenges you with today is that affirmation that you can give to people within where they are different can mean so much, because I think so many of us can feel such sense of competition. Oh, I want to have the woo gift and I don't have it. And then so I start to look down on myself because I don't have that, because I have these other ones that I think are boring or whatever it is. But when you can affirm people in it, you can help remove that sense of them comparing themselves to everybody else. So I think that application that Ian gave, so important, so important.
Yeah, so 2 things this week, guys, everybody, if you've done some of these assessments, revisit them, talk to some of your coworkers about them, keep appreciating those differences. And secondly, if you haven't, whatever, just look for someone's difference and verbally affirm them in it in some way. Maybe write them a note or tell them personally how much you appreciate that about them. You will find as you do that, it'll help make your environment, your marriage, your family, your workplace, your team better if you're pointing those things out and talking about them. So thanks for tuning in today, everybody. We will see you next time. And please, as Daniel always says, if this has helped you at all, share it with others. Right, Daniel?
Yes. Yes.
All righty. We'll see you next time.